Hey, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Grandpa coming to you from the living room in Jack's Beach. And as we get close to the new year, I wanted to start reading Dr. Seuss books. And I may have read one, maybe two. I think I read Hop on Pop. But I decided to, research it and see like how many books he had and he had quite a few. He had 48. And I don't have 48 books, but some of them I can get online, like this one. So we're going to start with this. They won't all be in order because I'm not going to buy all these books. If I can get them online, I'll get them. This one took me 3 weeks of waiting to get it online. So, but this is the very first book by Dr. Seuss. I don't know anything about him. I think maybe he was a real doctor and, blah, 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 blah. Um, it doesn't matter. He wrote children's books. When I was a kid, I don't remember my mom ever reading these to me or my dad. And but I know by the time that my brother, and he's 7 years younger than me, my my youngest brother, that we had these books in the house. I think we had The Cat in the Hat. That's like the most popular one. Green Eggs and Ham. But this is the very first one. So we're going to see as we go through these, probably the artwork gets a little better, or maybe not better, but becomes a little more modern. I'm sure this dude's dead now, and I don't think he's written any of these for a long time. But this is not a history lesson. This is Story Time with Grandpa. The book tonight is And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street by Dr. Seuss. And there's looks like a boy there. The wind's blowing. You can see the way they make it look like the wind is blowing. And he's standing there, and you can see the street sign that says Mulberry Street. And here they show you even more of that same picture. Wind looks like it's blowing really hard. Now, I don't think there's really those cloud looking things there, but they're just trying to show you that the wind's blowing. When I leave home to walk to school, Dad always says to me, Marco, keep your eyelids up and see what you can see. But when I tell him where I've been and what I think I've seen, he looks at me and sternly says, your eyesight's much too keen. Stop telling such outlandish tales. Stop turning minnows into whales. And a minnow is a little tiny fish that you use as bait to catch bigger fish. And a whale, of course, is a giant, not a fish. Whales are mammals, just like porpoises and dolphins are, but they're big and they swim in the water. Now, what can I say when I get home today? And there's the little boy, and he's walking home from school. All the long way to school and all the way back, I've looked and I've looked, and I've kept careful track. But all that I've noticed, except my own feet, was a horse and a wagon on Mulberry Street. And there's the horse and wagon with the guy. It looks like he's bringing plants to people. And if you see, the horse has its mouth in this thing. It's called a feed bag. Human beings would love to be able to have feed bags where you just have this thing hooked up to you so that when you're walking around and doing whatever you're doing, you could just be eating from it. because they have those long, like their mouths that are like snouts, and they can get down in there. So they just give them some hay or something, and then they can eat it when they want to. That's nothing to tell of. That won't do, of course. Just a broken down wagon that's drawn by a horse. That can't be my story. That's only a start. I'll say that a zebra was pulling that cart. And we see it's a weird looking zebra. Zebras are white and black. This is yellow and black. So we see that this boy um, has a penchant for telling tall tales. And his dad was saying, you need to stop doing that. But now we see he's got an active imagination. And that is a story that no one can beat when I say that I saw it on Mulberry Street. Yes, the zebra is fine, but I think it's a shame such a marvelous beast with a cart that's so tame. The story would really be better to hear if the driver I saw were a charioteer. A gold and blue chariot, something to meet, rumbling like thunder down Mulberry Street. And a chariot is a war vehicle that they used to use in ancient times. The Romans had chariots, and the Egyptians had chariots. And you can see what a chariot looks like, and you would be up on that thing maybe with a bow and arrow or a spear, and you'd go up to people and try to kill them, because that's what armies do. No, it won't do at all. A zebra is too small. A reindeer is better. He's fast and he's fleet, and he'd look mighty smart on old Mulberry Street. So now he's got a reindeer, the kind that supposedly pull Santa Claus Santa Claus's sleigh through the sky. Hold on a minute. There's something wrong. A reindeer hates the way it feels to pull a thing that runs on wheels. He'd be much happier instead if he could pull a fancy sled. So now we see that it's not the original anything. Everything's changed, and that's the way it is with stories. They change. A reindeer and a sleigh. Say anyone could think of that. Jack or Fred or Joe or Nat. Say even Jane could think of that. But it isn't too late to make one little change. A sleigh and an elephant. There's something strange. I'll pick one with plenty of power and size. A blue one with plenty of fun in his eyes. And if you look at him, he has fun in his eyes. And then just to give him a little more tone, have a Raja with rubies perched high on a throne. So a Raja is like the ruler in a place like India in the Far East. Say, that makes a story that no one can beat when I say that I saw it on Mulberry Street. But now I don't know. It still doesn't seem right. An elephant pulling a thing that's so light would whip it around in the air like a kite. But he'd look simply grand with a great big brass band. So now the elephant's pulling a brass band, and we see the tuba, the trumpet, clarinet. Clarinet's really not in the brass band, but we'll give him a buy on that. There's a drum, bass drummer, I don't know what that. Oh, the one guy's playing an organ, a pipe organ. There's a guy playing a trombone. I used to play trombone when I was a kid. That was an instrument that was the first instrument I ever played, was the trombone. A band that's so good should have someone to hear it, but it's going so fast that it's hard to keep near it. I'll put on a trailer. I know they won't mind if a man sits and listens while hitched on behind. So we see now that there's some dude sitting in a little, almost looks like an outhouse. um, and he's hitched to the back of the bandwagon, and he's there. So we're on the left-hand side. We're looking at that stuff. But something else has changed, too. And let's see what that is. But now, is it fair? Is it fair what I've done? I'll bet those wagons weigh more than a ton. That's really too heavy a load for one beast. I'll give him some helpers. He needs two at least. So what are those animals? They're giraffes. But now what worries me is this. Mulberry Street runs into Bliss. And so we see the corner of Bliss and Mulberry. Unless there's something I can fix up, there'll be an awful traffic mix-up. It takes police to do the trick, to guide them through where traffic's thick. It takes police to do the trick. They'll never crash now. They'll race at top speed with Sergeant Mulvaney himself in the lead. And so there's three cops, and now we see the guy in the very rear, the dude sitting in his tool shed or whatever that thing is. He's partying. He's like, woohoo! Whoa, look at this. The mayor is there, and he thinks it's grand, and he raises his hat as they dash by the stand. The mayor is there, and the aldermen, too, all waving big banners of red, white, and blue, and we see them up there in the upper left-hand corner. The mayor and the aldermen, and aldermen are just part of the city government. They call them councilmen in a lot of places. And that is a story that no one can beat when I say that I saw it on Mulberry Street. And so he's saying the quiet part out loud. He's trying to have a story that people go, oh man, that's amazing. But they're not going to say that. With a roar of its motor, an airplane appears and dumps out confetti while everyone cheers. And there's the airplane in the upper right hand. The guy's like standing on the top of the airplane, one's at the tip of the wing. They're dumping things of confetti onto everybody. And that makes a story that's really not bad, but it still could be better. Suppose that I add a Chinese man who eats with sticks. And back when this was written in the 1950s, there in most of the United States, there weren't a lot of Orientals. There were some, especially on the West Coast, and every city, major city, had a Chinatown, and you would go there. But most people didn't eat with chopsticks, but the people that lived there did. The people that lived in Chinatown. So it was something that you would see when you went to a Chinese restaurant, because everybody in America went to Chinese restaurants. But it was like Americans didn't go like, yeah, give me those chopsticks. Like, I eat with chopsticks. Your grandmother eats with chopsticks. I'm sure that your parents all eat with chopsticks. Sometimes, not all the time. a big magician doing tricks. And there he is, pulling rabbits out of his hat. A 10-foot beard that needs a comb. No time for more. I'm almost home. So look at all the stuff that's going on here. Dude with a 10-foot long beard, huh? I swung around the corner and dashed through the gate. I ran up the streets and I felt simply great. And there he goes, going up the steps. For I had a story that no one could beat. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. But Dad said quite calmly, just draw up your stool and tell me the sights on the way home from school. There was so much to tell, I just couldn't begin. Dad looked at me sharply and pulled at his chin. He frowned at me sternly from there in his seat. Was there nothing to look at, no people to greet? Did nothing excite you or make your heart beat? Nothing, I said, growing red as a beet, but a plain horse and wagon on Mulberry Street. Wow. So he didn't tell the tale that he dreamt up. So, anyway, peace out.